Everyone who owns a boat knows that it's not all rainbows and relaxing or sipping wine and enjoying boat drinks. Most of the time, rather, it is work. Sometimes it is lots of work. So here is the second part of our video on boat work.
Normally, our cockpit is a tidy little area, but you can see it's in a bit of disarray. And then when you look out on the dock, more interesting finds, and that is because we started to sink last night due to a through hole that didn't have any kind of a valve to shut it off. It's a raw water intake for the sink, but the hose had become disconnected and was just laying in the bottom of the hull. And when Ray and our good friend Matt came aboard last night and both sat on the starboard side, it put the boat low enough in the water on this side that it was taking in water pretty rapidly, which normally wouldn't be a big deal because our bilge pump would pump it out, but for whatever reason our bilge pump is not working. So we had to manually pump last night. Also interesting because there wasn't enough hose on the manual bilge pump to reach into the bilge, so we had to invent some things pretty rapidly. Just a real interesting night. The boat is still without her usual fun shag green carpet. So we've just got a bare floor. Hey, fellas. And a little mat covering our hole where the bilge goes. So, fun night, right?
It was amazing.
And Ethan, what do you want to do today?
Shop for me.
What?
I want shop.
You want to shop?
No, he said chalk.
Oh, you want to go chalk? Yeah, but what were you singing about earlier? Yeah, you want to go sailing away? Can we go sailing?
Yeah.
Not with a hole in our boat. Thought you might want a video of you disappearing into a giant hole.
I'm going into the abyss. And I know that everybody's going to look at this video and wonder that I did not have to grease myself either. And I've never been in a circus.
Although you were born and raised in Booger Town.
Yes.
Okay, but not right now. Right now I'm watching Daddy disappear.
Okay. Can I see the camera?
Sure. Got it?
Yep. Okay, so we have discovered two problems. I am down inside the bilge. That is the bottom of our galley sink. My knee is resting on the side of our ice box. Two problems. One, the drain fitting on the bottom of the sink was broken here, and it drains directly from the sink drain there down through that tube, and the tube is supposed to go through this holder and to the through hole there. And the previous owner told us that he had just fixed all the sink drains to where they would drain into the bilge, and I suppose what he really meant was that that fitting had broken and he hadn't bothered to repair it. So this hose was effectively just a way for water to intrude the boat, which happened last night about 10:30. And so we frantically had to get the water out of the bilge. So water was up here, probably, well, there was quite a bit of water even up past my feet here in this part of the bilge. And this drain tube here is the line that is connected to our electric bilge pump, and these are the wires that go to the electric bilge pump. Now it is under the cabin sole, and the cabin sole is about right here. So there's this much bilge, which actually gets deeper as it goes forward in the boat. And so there was water on the cabin sole in the boat. Luckily we don't have any woodwork or anything. That was just a rug that had gotten wet. But the electric bilge pump was not working last night, and still haven't got that sorted out. But the two problems that we have to work on today is, number one, getting this fitting replaced, and also reworking the plumbing on our manual bilge pump, or our manual pump, which is fixed to this bracket right here. And I'll get a better shot, or maybe a still picture of the pump from above. But at any rate, we have to redo that because we had to cobble these hoses together using tape so that the manual pump hose would get down here to the floor, the bottom of the bilge, so we could pump the water out. And so anyway, that's our two little projects for the day. And we weren't aware that we were going to be working on any major boat projects this weekend. We had just come out for an open house, and we assumed that that's all that we would be doing this weekend. But as everyone who owns a boat knows, it's always an adventure. So off to work I go. Well, here is the scene. We are continuing to work on the sink drain project and bilge pump snafu that happened last weekend. We did get the bilge pump working eventually, and it pumped out all of the water from our bilge, which was awesome. But just as we were getting ready to go, I noticed that the bilge pump was still running. So evidently there's some problem with the switch. Additionally, I got down into the bilge underneath the cockpit to remove the existing sink drain, and I could not get the drain connection loose. So I had already purchased the fittings that I needed to reduce down from the sink drain to a proper size of hose fitting, and then we purchased a new sink drain, shiny new sink drain. And then now I just took my torch with MAP gas and heated up the threads inside of this fitting here. This is a female adapter coupling, and then threaded it onto the sink drain while the PVC was still kind of warm and a little malleable, still soft. So I'm ready to now get down in the bilge and use my grinder to cut out the old sink drain, which sounds amazingly fun. So that's what I'm going to do in just a few minutes. Get down there and cut off the old sink drain, and then I can install this new sink drain in the sink. There is my lovely lady. Say hi to the camera.
Really? Like this?
Yes. Oh, you're so beautiful.
I ought to bring up your hemorrhoids or something while you're filming.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, that's where the hemorrhoid comment came from, in the bottle.
I don't want to drink out of this anymore then.
You're pathetic. You're cut off. She's had half of a Seagram's. She's cut off.
I'm just this funny all the time, honey.
So we're going to cut out the old sink drain, replace it with the new shiny sink drain, and then be able to connect the drain that is connected up to the through hole, which I have some video of, and you should have already seen in this video. And then I will work on installing the new bilge pump. So lots of fun.
You don't want to talk about what just happened though, do you?
Well, I was thinking how it would be a little comical if I stuck my foot inside the cockpit locker on the hull and then I slipped and racked myself on the thing, and then that on the edge of the cockpit locker, and then that actually almost happened.
It was less funny than you thought it would be?
It was a lot less funny than I thought it would be. I didn't actually hurt myself, but it was a narrow miss. So anyway, enough slapstick comedy for the day. I'm going down into the abyss. Wish me Godspeed.
All I can see is your head and your paper towel.
So I'm down in the depths of the abyss, and I've had to cut the nut off the bottom of the drain. You can see the big gashes that I ground with my grinder. And then I couldn't get this nut loose, which is the nut that holds the drain to the sink. And so I've had to grind a couple of big gashes in it in order to free that nut off to get the drain out. This has been such a fun project. No, seriously, it's not been all that horrible. It's just that it's about 700% humidity today and raining, and still 700% humidity. No, in all seriousness, it's not been that bad. I knew that I was going to probably have to do that. So I need to finish getting this nut off the bottom of the drain, and then I'm going to hook up the line that runs out to the through hole that I have looped back and forth inside that little fiberglass tube, which actually runs as a pathway for the drain tube to run to the sink to keep it kind of out of the way. And but I just looped it back and forth so it would pinch the water off, so no water could intrude the boat, which was pretty good idea, and it worked very well. We have zero water in the bilge up this far anyway, and so I'm almost done with disassembling this, and then I'll be able to install the new sink drain and plumb it to the through hole, and then we will work on the bilge pump. Alright, I have the old drain out, the new drain back in, fixing to get this tightened up, and then I will be able to hook up the PVC fitting that I have customized to go on the bottom of the drain, and then replumb the hose fitting that goes to the through hole. So we're nearing the end of this project. Thank the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay, so I have the new drain installed, and I used Lexel sealant for the connection for the sink drain to the sink, and just regular Teflon based thread sealant for the female adapter coupling. Of course, I used some glue, and there's some, you can see the white pipe thread sealant on the brass fitting there. And then we're going to hook up the tubing here, and when at all possible, it's best to use redundant clamps on a tubing. So I did that on my bilge pump fitting here. This is something that I learned in the plumbing trade a long time ago. If you have a barb type fitting, using opposite facing redundant clamps is always better. You have tightening from both directions, and two clamps always works better than one. Alright, so just about to finish this up. There's an ominous still shot of this access hole, and as you have learned from a previous video, we had an issue with our bilge pump. There were several of us here on the boat one night, and we had a few adult beverages and lots of good conversation. And my friend and I were sitting in the cockpit on the starboard side on that locker there, and that's the side that the through-hole fittings. That's the cockpit locker that you've seen me going in and out of in previous videos. So anyway, that's the side of the hull that we have a through-hole fitting, and that through-hole fitting, the one in question that the video was about, services the drain for this sink. This is our little galley sink here in the main salon. And so anyway, we had an issue with the bilge pump. For whatever reason, the bilge pump would not come on the night that we had the problem. The next day, I was able to get the bilge pump working. When I wired it back up, it came on, it pumped out beautifully, and we didn't really have any issues until we were getting ready to leave. And I think I mentioned this in a previous video. We were getting ready to leave, and the bilge pump was still humming. I could still hear it running, but there was no more water coming out. So we frantically, tried to figure out, and it was just really kind of a brain buster. My father-in-law actually sent me a brand new bilge pump, which was awesome on his part. Unfortunately, it would not go through this access hole, and I didn't want to cut a new hole in the boat anywhere in the cabin sole, and there's no access from the bilge that's under the cockpit. So I ordered an exact replacement for our bilge pump. And when it got here, sorry, I know that it's kind of boring staring at the cockpit sole, but when it got here, I opened up the cockpit, or the sole here, and removed the bilge pump, and put the new bilge pump in and wired it up just exactly like I had done the other one. And to my surprise, it would not turn off. And so I'm going to have to replace this, as you can see. Anyway, so the problem was, I thought that there was a bad switch on the original bilge pump, and that was not the problem. The problem was that I had it wired up backwards, which is slightly embarrassing. But fair warning is that I'm not an electrician, and I've done a lot of plumbing work in my life, but I'm definitely not an electrician. So anyway, I thought that I had it wired up exactly like it had been previously, but I was wrong. So there are the wires, and there's just a tiny few drops of water in the bilge. I mean, only just a few drops of water, which is awesome. And you can see the bilge pump down there underneath the wires. So anyway, we're going to at some point install a switch there on that bulkhead, which will we have the bilge pump wired directly up to the battery, and at some point in the near future we're going to install a switch, which I already have. But the long and the short of the story is, I ordered a new bilge pump, and just had the old bilge pump wired incorrectly. So it was running, but it would not cut off. For some reason it was bypassing the switch the way that it was wired. So anyway, that was the funny ha-ha of our bilge pump story. And it was not really all that funny at the time. But I guess the upside is we have a spare bilge pump. And it also led us to re-plumb our emergency pump, which is located in the cockpit locker. And I think that we made mention in a previous video, or earlier in the video, that the emergency bilge pump was not working. So we had to cobble some hoses together on the spur of the moment in order for us to have enough hose to get down to where the water was. So that led us to re-plumbing, and I actually got some new hose that runs down to the bilge, and then I have a solid piece of hose that runs under the sole floor, under the sole. so it can get down into the bilge, and I have a long enough discharge pipe now that's permanently fixed to the pump. So if we were to be in an emergency situation, we could operate this manual pump, and we could also take this hose and stretch it out to where it would reach outside the boat, which is awesome because neither of the hoses that were on it were functional. I mean, they were literally just useless pieces of hose that were cobbled together, and then we had to extend those in order just to get the water out because our electric bilge pump was not working at the time. So anyway, that was lots and lots of fun, and Mindy and I are both extremely happy to have those two little projects finished and out of the way. Again, as I mentioned in an earlier video, there's our manual or emergency bilge pump, and we also picked up another long, I think you can maybe see it there, a multi-purpose hand pump, and it's about 4 feet long, so it could be used even in the case of an emergency. If something were to happen to this, the diaphragm to dry rot or something, we have another, another backup. What is it they say that 2 is 1 and 1 is none? So we have plenty of spares as far as pumps to get the water out if we have that issue again. But thankfully we have the through hole fitting situation fixed. We have the new pump, or the new piping, hooked up to the sink, and that's taken care of. So anyway, very, very happy to have that all done and have that out of the way.